Hello everyone and welcome. Good evening, good evening. We are so happy that you're here with us tonight for this episode of Tea Talks with Monique Speaks. Thank you for coming and being with us, ladies.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Monique Dunn. I'm so happy you're here. I am a licensed therapist. I'm a licensed clinical social worker supervisor and the founder of Destination Therapy, as well as the creator of Monique Speaks. I'm really excited about tonight because this series, Tea Talks, is really just an extension of conversations that I was already having, right? Conversations with friends, with girlfriends, with colleagues, with clients in my therapy practice, and I just felt like these conversations needed a bigger platform, and that's what tonight is all about, so I'm so happy that you're here.
Absolutely.
Tonight we are diving into a topic that touches so many people's lives, so many families and individuals, and that is maternal mental health and well-being. From pregnancy to postpartum, this is a journey that transforms not only our bodies but also our emotions, our identity, and our relationships. Yet it's often one of the least talked about parts of motherhood, right? I think a lot of people talk about motherhood and they miss out all the stuff before, right, that helps us get to that point. So tonight we're opening up this conversation. I am thrilled to be joined by three incredible women who bring a wealth of knowledge and personal experience to this discussion, and I'm really excited to dive in. So first, I'd like to introduce these women. I have Kedian Dixon, one of the incredible licensed therapists on the Destination Therapy team. Kedian sees individuals and couples, and y'all be booking her up with couples. Everybody loves Kedian for couples. Kedian is booked and busy, okay? And she's also a doula in training. And Kedian has a really great passion for the intersection of maternal and mental health, which is so important. Next, we have Rayna Reid Rayford. Thank you for joining us. Rayna is an Ivy League trained attorney, a former Essence editor, and the founder of an incredible nonprofit, Pregnant and Black. Rayna's a powerful maternal health advocate whose work is grounded in her own lived experience and her mission to ensure that every woman, especially Black women, is heard, respected, and supported throughout their birthing journey. So thank you for being here. And finally, we're joined by Joycelyn, also known as Mama Soul. Joycelyn is a Houston-born author, doula, lactation consultant, holistic birth worker, and soon-to-be midwife. Yeah. Mama Soul empowers women through education, healing, and community in her work. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am really excited to dive in. So here's a little bit of what you can expect for tonight. First, we're going to run through and dive into some questions that the audience asked when they initially signed up for this event tonight. And then we're going to open it up for live questions. So if you're looking at your phone, your device, there's a little chat option. And we are going to do our best to address any of the questions that are in the chat at the end. So we'll save an extra 15 minutes at the end to go over those. This space is for you, it's for you, it's for you, it's for you. We're here without judgment, and this is just a space to have real talk with women who are passionate about this topic. So let's jump in. So I first want to just name the elephant in the room because a lot of people have questions, and this question came up a lot when we were doing the registration. So, Mama Soul.
Yes.
What is a doula, and how does their role differ from a midwife or an OBGYN?
So a doula, where I started, which is to me the most pivotal foundational support system that, you know, a woman can have or a family can have in general. So when you think about a doula is someone who provides that family, specifically that mother, the emotional support she needs while also preparing her for her pregnancy, labor and birth, and also postpartum journey. So this is a space where she has her own personal bestie, right? Bestie with boundaries, because that doula is also there to put things into perspective, right?
We love boundaries, okay? We love boundaries.
Right, that doula is there to put things in, you know, in perspective, keep you, you know, on top of your birth plan, your postpartum plan, all of the things, while also showing up for you, as well as if there's a partner there, assisting the partner with, support methods and things, that can happen, that they can take care of the birthing person. So a doula, I would say, is just all around emotional, physical, mental support, because it is all hands-on. And she's there most of the time, depending on when you hire in that process.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's really helpful. Mahalia Laverne, one of our viewers, she asked that question. And at the end she added, which is absolutely needed? And I think it's interesting because a lot of people think like, I can only have this or that. And I guess my instinct is to say like, I mean, I had a traditional, I guess, hospital, like mainstream birth, but I did have a doula.
Right.
And so I think for people considering like their options, it's good for them to know that you don't necessarily have to pick like doula and birthing center and midwives versus a hospital or versus a home birth. It's like you can actually, depending on the setting, have a combination that works for you and your family.
Absolutely. That is absolutely true. You can have a doula whether you're birthing inside or outside of the hospital, because there are some women who cannot birth outside of the hospital due to high risk factors, which is where we kind of lean into the difference with OB, versus midwifery care, because midwifery care is for those people who are pretty much low risk, right? And then if we get into high risk things, we have to transfer into the hospital. So you just never know where that mom may land on the spectrum of things. I mean, she could be out of hospital and then preeclampsia pops up, and then she has to transfer in. So a doula is, in my opinion, non-negotiable. I think you should absolutely have a doula, especially if you're a first-time mom, because we think, and we're on TikTok and we think we know, until it happens, right? Sometimes it's a good doula, right? A good doula who's gonna show up, especially like choosing your doula is really important. Like just the way you should choose your OB or your midwife, or we choose our dentist, and what type of car we gonna drive. Your doula is important. This person is essentially around your family. They're going to be around your child. They're around you in a lot of vulnerable moments.
Very vulnerable. And
you get hot, you're taking clothes off, or you're releasing trauma. It can be just different aspects of that. So hiring and really vetting your doula and letting them know what your needs are, so they understand. Because some doulas, oh my God, like she's so needy. No, she's not needy. She requires this, and this is what she needs, and maybe you two didn't have enough conversation, to work that out. So having a doula, I think, is absolutely important in your birthing journey, even in conception.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that answers that question very well.
Thank you.
Pregnancy can bring a lot of joy. I think birthing can bring a lot of joy, but also a lot of anxiety and uncertainty, right? And so many women experience emotional challenges when it comes to conceiving, being pregnant, giving birth, and I'm like nodding to all of these, right? And so we have a few questions around here. Cece Neal, she asked, she shared that she often sees how emotional trauma, anxiety, and unhealed experiences, you mentioned trauma a minute ago, can surface during pregnancy and the postpartum period. So how do you all think that we can better support pregnant people working through like fears, anxiety, and stress?
I think it's important for them to get all the providers that they need. So even if they have a doula, they have a midwife, they have an OB, I think it's important for them to also have a therapist.
Absolutely.
And I had to work with a couple clients during my doula training journey and just refer them to a therapist, because there's the depression that comes up. There's a suicidal ideation that comes up, especially if you don't have a supportive partner, if you don't have a village, if you don't have anybody around you. It could feel so lonely.
It can.
So I think it's important that they have all the necessary providers and they know how to get to those people.
Absolutely. It's so important.
And I also think just talking about your experiences can help. I feel like so much has been shrouded in secrecy, but nowadays people are beginning to open up and talk more about their experiences. For instance, Chrissy Teigen, with one of her last miscarriages, was extremely open. And I think just normalizing that there are difficulties, there are celebrations, there can also be hurdles, but can make it feel less alone. Like when I had my 2 miscarriages, knowing that other people are also going through this is a more typical part of pregnancy, and because I was talking about it, other people were also talking about it, and it made me feel less alone and less like, okay, this really sucks, but it's not that much of an anomaly.
And just to kind of, I totally agree with you, right? Because how many times do people just look at miscarriage and just think, oh, you can just get pregnant again and have another baby, right? But when you think about that mom and what she's endured, that's grief. And we don't know how many times she's encountered that grief. So then every baby she's pregnant with, she has anxiety. She has trauma of grief, you know. So being able to have, like you said, a therapist, right? Having all of the components and people that you need in your support system is absolutely important, because we need to be able to decompress and talk about that. And even if you have to go and have a doula who's really good with, you know, grief support, whatever it is you need, because that is something that can impact that next pregnancy.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. There can be so much grief in the journey, and you know, as a therapist, as a mom, I've seen my clients, I've seen my friends, my community, or even myself, like there's waves of grief that can come up, even not related to miscarriage, right? I've worked with so many clients that are moving through like their relationships with their own moms and what it means to become a mother or become a father, to become a step parent, like all of these things that it can be really challenging. And we had a question about grief, but in a different way. Noor, she asked about a really important emotional reality. She said, mourning one's pre-parent self or life, especially when that life was fulfilling and you loved that life. How do you navigate that kind of identity shift and find balance between who you were before and then who you are becoming now as a parent? And I just felt that so hard when I read that question, because I think it's such a big thing that people don't talk about enough. And I actually recently just did like an Instagram, I think it was a reel, talking about like the importance of grieving that, and also the importance of finding identity in motherhood outside of being a mom. Because like we got our own stuff going on too, right? Maybe I need a new hobby. Like maybe I need to lean into this thing that I said I was gonna do for myself, right?
Absolutely.
Maybe I have these new goals, and I really love the vulnerability in that question.
Yes, because it's a huge hormonal shift. It's a huge hormonal shift. Your body changes, your breasts change, your hair changes, your nails change, like everything changes. And you know, we see people and we judge them, and you know, because they're like, mommy makeovers, and you know, they're like, but you look perfect, and it's like, but you don't know what that woman is going through with what she felt like she has lost. Yes, she loves her baby. Yes, she loves her family. Yes, she may love that, but then now she's mom. But before mom, she was someone else, and trying to figure that out, you know, grieving perhaps, like she said, what is no longer, but then trying to process the rebirth of oneself into womanhood, right? Which is empowering itself, but it's like, how do you connect the two? So you realize, I didn't really lose myself, but maybe I evolved.
Exactly.
I evolved into something bigger and better, like my womb is used now to bring forth life, you know, like, I don't know, but you know, that's how I would think, you know, or I would go into talking to a mom, you know, as a doula or as a midwife, like empowering her to like really understand what her body did. And how powerful it is to go through and endure labor and trauma or cesarean section, like the healing and the recovery and the breastfeeding and being up all night, like how powerful that is. And even with people who have help, but just imagine those who don't, you know, so just embracing that mom. So,
and even those, sorry,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, even those who don't feel empowered right away, even walking them through that, like, that's okay. Because your body has gone through so much. And it's hard to feel in that moment like, oh my God, I did this great thing, it's okay if you don't feel that right away. It's okay if you don't feel in a couple months.
Yes.
It may take a year.
That's where I don't know if I felt
like
it.
ready to jump in.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that's ever going to come, but for me, it's been really leaning into what brings me joy as a person. And, you know, exercise and fitness have always been part of my passion. So I've talked with my husband and we've worked out a schedule to make sure that I still get to have my daily workouts because that is extremely important to me.
By any means necessary.
Oh.
She don't play with these workouts, okay? Trust me.
Thank you, Monique. Yes, I love working out. But also just really trying to, you know, also still talk with, I'm really big on maintaining your friendships, talking it out, you know, explaining what you're going through. And I think that has really helped me, and talking with other new moms like Monique, just like, you know, what we're going through is, you know, she might have experienced a problem that she can offer a solution for me, and vice versa. And I think just being there for one another is really key.
And I think it's important that, like, you aren't shamed or guilted because you are not defined by being a mom. Because you are a person first.
You're allowed to be
So-
other things. Yeah.
And I think some
absolutely.
people who don't realize, like, yes, you're happy to be a mom and you're happy to bring a kid into the world, but that's not the only thing you are. So
Yeah, and I was sat here thinking about people who don't birth their children, right? And if you went through surrogacy, if you adopted, like, whew, that's like an overnight switch, right? Like, I feel like pregnancy allowed me some time to theoretically prepare. And maybe there's some time to theoretically prepare if you're having a child through another means, but then that baby shows up, and guess what? Just like any other parent, you're thrown in and you don't know what to expect. You have to learn that baby just like any other parent has to learn that baby. And they have to learn you, even if you carry that baby or not. And so it is just such a huge shift.
Yeah. And I think when people, you know, kind of say, you know, you had children, like your life is over now. It's about your kids. And I'm like,
Excuse me.
no, like I got an extra title now, but you know, I was here before this shift, and I hear people say they're like, no, like you're a mom now, you're a mom or you're a dad or you guys are parents. So I like when people have, you know, support systems and even grandparents, you know, or friends that support, that say, hey, you guys need a date night, or
Yes.
because they recognize that both parents are now, you know, going through a shift. So
Yeah, and I think one of my issues with that take of, well, you're a parent now, is as a therapist, I have seen people down the road of that, of what that looks like to lean in so hard that you don't have any other identity outside of being a mom. Because guess what? When that kid goes to high school and they want to stay out late with their friends and they're going to go to parties, you don't know what to do with yourself. When that kid goes to college, when that kid finds a partner, what do I do now? Like, that is such a shocking shift for so many women, specifically women, I find, because they've wrapped so much of themselves and their identity of their mother they've wrapped so much of themselves in the identity of being a mother that they don't know who they are outside of it.
Yeah.
And that is dangerous, you know, and I think I love being a mom. It is such a gift, it's such a blessing. I love my baby. But I think for her sake, it's important for her to also see me do these other things. And sure, she's one right now. She don't know that much that's going on. But, you know, when she's older, she's gonna know, like, mommy goes to work, mommy has friends, mommy has colleagues, mommy does these things. And she's not just like my servant, right? Like,
Yes.
here to serve me. I think it's a great thing. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom or not, you are absolutely allowed to have parts of yourself outside of mother.
Agreed. You can be multifaceted. 3 months after I gave birth, I was pumping in the club at a bachelorette party. We got it done. It's possible.
I love it.
Yes, all things are possible with a good pump and a good pumping bra. Okay, you can go wherever you want to go. You can make it happen.
I have pumped on
Absolutely.
planes, trains, automobiles, boats, anywhere you can pump.
Yeah,
Yes,
you can make
you
it
gotta keep
happen.
going.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the next question, because I feel like we're gonna be here all night. Okay, we're gonna go off script. So let's see. Okay. many people, we had a lot of different questions about this, so I've tried my best to build them into one. Many people say they felt dismissed or unheard in medical settings. So how does that kind of experience impact their mental health and their emotional well-being? And I want to start with you, Rayna.
Okay, yes. So when I was pregnant, I had an experience that completely transformed my life. When I was 30 weeks, I went to the ER. I was presenting with abdominal pain, and I was told that I was just dehydrated. Thought that was odd because I drink a gallon of water a day, but I said, okay, listened to that team and then went home. And a week later, I ended up back in the ER, and I'm very fortunate for the timing because it was the day before my baby shower, which meant, as someone who's not from Houston, all of my family was in town, and most of them went to medical school as opposed to law school, so a lot more useful. The doctors were again trying to say that I was just dehydrated and I would be fine, and they were trying to send me home. But
And they were not listening to you.
yes, I could barely walk. I was wheeled in, screaming in pain. I wasn't sure of what I was having were contractions, but it felt like it was the most pain I've ever experienced in my entire life. And then because of my family's advocacy, I was able to get an MRI, and they said, oh wait, you have acute necrotizing appendicitis. We need to rush you into surgery immediately. And if I had been sent home again, most likely I would have ruptured and me and my baby might not even be here. So that experience just, as someone who's covered the maternal health crisis so much, it was just astonishing to me that I myself almost became a statistic. And so that's what inspired me to create my nonprofit, Pregnant in Black. The app is in development, and it's going to connect pregnant women with a healthcare advocate, because everyone else might not have 5 clinicians in the waiting room able to advocate on your behalf, but what if you could have it in your back pocket? And I truly believe that being pregnant in Black shouldn't be a risk factor. You should be able to feel seen, supported, heard, and also experience joy during this transformative experience in your life. And so it's almost like being, sometimes I think the term gaslit is being overused, but I felt so gaslit in that moment, because I was thinking, there's no way there are this many babies being born all the time if people are going through this much pain. Because I was told, this is just normal pregnancy. Pregnancy is painful. You're fine. And
Nope.
It shouldn't be that painful.
Yes.
Right, and especially at 30 weeks.
Yeah, and I still have the scars from where they had to do surgery on my stomach that are forever a reminder of what I went through. And so that's another thing that, really drives me every day. I see this and I want to make sure that no other pregnant woman has to go through that, because the CDC says that 80% of pregnancy-related deaths are preventable. So pregnancy doesn't need to be terminal.
I'm so sorry about that.
Sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah.
And so many women do, and it's very unfortunate.
Right. And as a Black woman, you're 3.5 times more likely to die during pregnancy and labor than your white counterpart. That's terrifying. And I think for me, when I was pregnant, going into this medical system in the US, very keenly aware of that statistic, that can bring some anxiety, right?
Oh, yeah.
That can bring some stress, and thank you for sharing. I know your story, and it's so impactful, and the fact that you've chosen to use that to create this platform is incredible. That's the most beautiful thing anyone can do with an experience.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Ooh. So given that reality, how do we navigate the system? How do we advocate for ourselves? We can, find an app eventually, Pregnant in Black. What other things can we do as pregnant people navigating these systems to advocate for ourselves?
I think it's important to do your research on what is available. So even that app, but there's other websites and there's community events that you can go to, that you can meet other doulas, midwives, OBGYNs, and they're always happening around the city. So I think it's important to like look for those things too, and just reach out, because pregnancy doesn't have to be this lonely thing.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have family or friends to support you, just reach out.
And I think it's important for us to learn to trust our bodies and to trust, maybe I'm not being dramatic, maybe something is wrong, right? And I think for me, what I found challenging at times, I had hyperemesis. And so there were points in my pregnancy, hyperemesis is severe nausea and vomiting. It's not just a little bit of morning sickness, right? And there were points in my pregnancy where I would share with someone that I was feeling nauseous, and they'd be like, oh yeah, I remember how it was, ugh. And I'm like, now looking back, I'm like, girl, you did not know. You did not know how that felt because you had morning sickness and you weren't throwing up like 20, 30 times a day. And that was so challenging. I had to stop working earlier. It didn't last the first trimester. I was throwing up till the day I gave birth.
Same.
Right? Like all these lies were told. And so like it took for me to be at the point where I was like, okay, you might need to be hospitalized, like you are unwell, to be like, oh, okay, yeah, something is actually really wrong, right? Like this is not good for my body, this is not good for my baby. And thankfully I had a provider who listened to me, was like, okay, we're gonna send you this prescription and we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. And like things got a little better. Did it stop the nausea? No. But I was not vomiting as much, right? So then I was able to gain weight for this child and to house this pregnancy. And so I just think for me that was a lesson of like, even though I was hearing people say, oh yeah, girl, me too, of realizing like, no, something is not right. Like this is not normal, this is not okay. I feel unwell. Headaches every day, like struggling to focus. And as a therapist, I can tell you that's not good, right? That's not good to be in session trying to hold it together because you can't focus on what you need to focus on. So shout out to all my clients that came back to me. I love you all. I love you all. You know, we got through it together, but it was definitely a challenge, and I think it was a good, hard lesson for me to learn to trust my body, which is a process.
You just push for what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely say the first thing is definitely trusting your body. Whether you have to get rid of a provider and find a new one, switch hospitals.
Which you're allowed to do.
Which you're allowed to do. Go to another, emergency rooms if they're within, your driving distance and things like that, if you have to go to an emergency room. But I also think for me and one of my good friends, we talk about planning, right? Not all the time we can plan, right? But in the times that we can, knowing what you want. What do you want your pregnancy to look like? What type of providers do you want? Who's your backup? If you have a midwife but something happens or you have to transfer into the hospital, what does that look like? Are you a person who likes vaccines? What does your diet look like? There's going to be some things that may cause you to be deficient in some areas than others. Well, let's talk about holistic things, being able to put yourself in a space where you know what you want so that you can find those people who can perhaps advocate for you or can understand what your plan looks like, and they can be in that space to provide you what it is you need. I oftentimes find people who just thumbing through their insurance, whether it's private insurance or Medicaid, whatever it is, and they just choose a doctor and they go to that doctor because I don't feel like researching or finding no one else. I'm here, I'm settled, and that's it. And then at 36 weeks, they're like, can you take me? And I'm like, how far along are you? I'm 32, I'm 36 weeks. And it's like, from a midwife's perspective, you want to build that relationship throughout that pregnancy with your client. Coming in at 36 weeks, you don't know what challenges there are, you don't know the things, but people then realize, oh, I want to have a baby outside the hospital. And it's like, well, it's 36 weeks, and you've been dealing with this. So knowing when to walk away, setting up boundaries, like I'm sure you ladies, instill in people, like knowing at 20 weeks, I disagree with the fact that I don't want vaccines, but you do. That's already a conflict because, when this baby come out, there's going to be a conversation that's going to have to be had, or CPS. So I really think understanding what you want and how you want that to flow, and even planning for if the shift happens, even if the emergency takes place, what does that plan look like? And they don't always navigate the way that they want to or they should, but being able to be in a space where you know that this is my, I'm presenting this to you. This is at least what I want, a portion of what it is I want or need.
And that could change.
And it can, yeah.
I think that the idea of a birth plan sounds good, and then you get in the room and it's like, whoa.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I think something that helped me was like having loose guidelines of what I wanted my birth plan to look like. And I'm fortunate that it went very smoothly and to plan, but the plan wasn't too firm that if things did go awry, there wasn't any room for flexibility.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think the key thing is also figuring out, this would have been really good for me in hindsight, figuring out a plan for when you're dealing with providers such as in the emergency room who you aren't familiar with. Because I had built, I was coming into this with my plan. I had my OB who I loved, we were gonna have a doula, and then when appendix gate happened, I was at another hospital because I was told that this was the best hospital for neonatal things. If anything happened before 34 weeks, my OB didn't have privileges. So I'm dealing with an entire unfamiliar team, and then even with my birth, when homegirl slid in 2 weeks early, my doula wasn't available during that date.
She said, surprise, I'm here.
Yes. 2 weeks.
So just having conversations with your partner, especially with the person who's going to be there with you at your appointments in an emergency and during your birth about, okay, here's what needs to happen, even if I'm not necessarily the most coherent about advocating for me, and just really discussing what that would look like,
Yeah.
especially
Absolutely.
when sometimes as people of color, when we do try to stand up for ourselves, we might get labeled as that angry black person.
Absolutely.
But
I've seen it in the hospital. Absolutely.
forget being labeled that, because someone can call me an angry black woman all day. If I am standing up for myself to make sure I'm still alive,
Right.
that's fine.
That is fine. And I totally agree. And that's why I think it's important when we talk about, roles of doulas, for those who have a doula, preparing the family, preparing that person, because you don't know what's going to happen. You can take sick if you have children. Your children may become ill. Life happens. You go a little bit early. Doula can't show up. So yes, I think that's why it's very important to make sure that the partner knows, hey, show up at these appointments with her. These are the type of questions you ask, because if everything hits the fan and mom is not able to make those decisions, the doula can't do it. The midwife, whether she's there in the Montrese role or not, she can't do it. That's going to be the partner that's going to have to make those very tough decisions. So I totally agree with you. And even outside of it being doula support, you and that partner really having those conversations of, hey, this is what this looks like. This is what I want. If this was to happen, this should take place. Here are emergency numbers. I definitely agree with having that conversation, because you just never know.
You never know. It's so true.
Yeah.
And that's actually a question that a viewer asked, right?
Really?
Was about...
Look at you, Rayna.
Right, you asked the question. It was literally about shared responsibility and managing expectations with a partner, which can be another layer of stress, especially when facing systemic barriers. How can couples and families communicate and share that emotional load more effectively during pregnancy and postpartum? You already answered it.
Yeah, because I think it's just very important for the partner to be very present.
Yeah.
As much as they can be at every appointment. Even as a doula, I work very closely with the partners and make sure that they understand, and even go through demonstrations of how they can help mom and the different massages they can do during labor, and the different ways that they can stretch with mom, move with mom, because I can do it while I'm there, but it would be better if you did it as the partner and if you knew.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Things that may come up, hey, when you get to the house, they may try to talk to you about inductions and this. I would tell my people, look, this may happen if you get transferred in. This could happen. They may tell you they want to do this. This is how, an induction looks. And, just giving them all of the things so that they're absolutely aware. So, I totally agree with you. Getting that partner prepared to go no matter what.
Absolutely. And something I wanted to add to this is that you get to choose who is in the room.
You get to choose who's
Even
in the
if
room.
that is not your romantic partner, which might be a sticky thing. And I've helped people navigate that. But if they're freaking out, or if they're passing out, or if they're not supporting you the way that you need, maybe they're not the best person to be doing all that advocacy that you talked about. And if they're not going to be, then you need to get your ducks in a row in advance. You need to sign paperwork. You need to have the plan written out so that that person who you trust and you've assigned is not going to be second guessed. Right? That person is officially there in that capacity.
Absolutely.
Because you do get to choose. And I think there could be amazing birth partners, and I've also seen it go awry. So, yeah, it's important we feel empowered. So, we had a wonderful question, speaking of who is in the room. Bruce, another viewer, asked, as a man, how can I best support my partner through this process? How do you think partners can play more of an intentional role in both emotional and practical support throughout pregnancy, throughout birth, and postpartum? I could be here all night on this one, but who wants to start with this question? Because I love this thoughtful question from a man who's clearly wanted to know how they can support a partner going through this journey.
I think we talked pretty heavily about like how they can during, but I think that postpartum piece is so important. And like knowing the signs of what your partner could be experiencing. So what postpartum depression looks like, when her mood changes, what baby's going through. So I think it's good to have that education piece as well. So you can recognize what may be happening, but you also, just like you were saying too, discuss everything, have a plan, who's going to do what. Like even if you're going to stay home and they're going to go to work, because not everybody gets to take leave. Okay, how can I support before I go to work? How can I support when I get home from work? Whatever that plan is, I think it's important to just talk about like what the needs are. And you never know what baby's gonna need too. Because if you have a really fussy baby, then that's different. Or if you have a very quiet baby. So.
Enjoy your sleep if you have a quiet baby. Enjoy your sleep, please.
I think having those conversations and figuring out what works for you is really key. For instance, what worked for me and my husband was, because I was exclusively pumping, I had to pump basically get up at 2 a.m. every night to pump. And so in order for me to get the most sleep with only those 4-hour windows from my 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., I needed to sleep when I was not pumping. So my husband handled every single night wake up, which is amazing. And then I found out that's what Barack and Michelle did, and then I was like, you're just like Barack Obama. But yes, just figuring out what works for you, and then also understanding that it might need to change because babies change. They can be day to day. You never know what's going to happen. And then communication is just the key point of this, because I feel like sometimes, especially for first time partners, they may not know what you're going through. And I'm a complainer, so everyone around me knew what I was going through. But yes, making sure that you are expressing yourself, because somebody might not know what you need, and how can they read your minds if you're not letting them know what you need?
Ask for help.
I agree.
That can be so hard when you're also like severely sleep deprived, you know? And so something that we did with, you know, people would come over and they'd be like, how can we help? No, I don't want you to hold my baby. I don't want you to hold my baby. I want to hold my baby. And there's all these other things that need to happen, right? So we had a list on the refrigerator, and it was all the things that needed to get done each day, right? Laundry, breakfast, lunch, dinner, wash bottles, put bottle parts away, all of these things. Wash pump parts, put pump parts away. And so if someone came over and they said, what do you need help with? I'd just be like,
check the list.
Anything on that would be great. It would be so great.
So
because I saw it on a reel or TikTok, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to have the bandwidth. And little did I know, my daughter ended up in the NICU on day 3 of life. And I had so much anxiety. My brain was not functioning to figure out what needed to be done. I was just trying to get through each moment, right? When I took her home, I was terrified.
Absolutely.
Every little noise, every blink, I was just terrified. Like, is she okay? So, like, the executive functioning, you know, like, we weren't really functioning that well at first. So now I'm like, okay, if we have another kid, here's all the things I learned, here's all the things, but you don't know going in, right? And also leveraging community supports, I think is so important.
Absolutely.
You know, we're part of a church that does like meal trains, so we had a meal train. But even if you don't have that, like if people are offering support, try and think about it in advance, like, what's your favorite thing they ever made for you? Like, what's your
DoorDash gift cards.
Yeah, DoorDash gift cards. But then I kind of got sick of like fast food, so I'm like,
Oh.
you know, like,
I
don't understand that concept.
Like I was just trying to forget.
I got sick of fast food.
It's not just fast food, they have everything.
Right.
I know, but like restaurant food, you know, sometimes you
Home
just want
cooked
something.
food is different.
I just wanted something home cooked,
Yeah.
Rayna. I just wanted something simple.
Home cooked meals are
like
way
some chicken
different.
and rice. Some chicken and rice and vegetables. I just want a little soup, you know.
Yeah,
and
something
so,
soothing.
Yeah, something
Ginger
soothing. So now, so I didn't have ramen. Maybe that would have been what I needed.
Oh, if you ever have,
But now I'm like,
can
next time
provide
around, I'm gonna
recommendations.
think of all my girls that can cook, all my friends and guys. Okay, one of our male friends made us steak and potatoes. It was great. So I will think ahead, like, what are the friends that have cooked for me? What have they made? Let me just put in a little request right now. And you know what? If you can freeze some as well, and so I can put it in a little Tupperware in the freezer, great. Because they were things that I was not thinking about. One, because I was too busy throwing up every day of my pregnancy and launching an in-person clinic space for our business and doing all these things, right? Building
She's
built
super-
this.
she's super mom.
I built this while we were pregnant, this little table and these chairs, right? Like waddling around with my bump. So I didn't think of those little details. So if you have time, you know, talk, if it's your first time, talk to your friends, talk to people in your community that have been through it. Like, what do you wish you did? What was so helpful? What was so grounding? And then just tweak it as you go along. Not everything is going to work for you. I made these frozen McMuffin fake sandwich things that you're meant to just throw in the air fryer. Disgusting. And I made like 40 of them. Thinking this is going to see me through every morning, and they were gross. So, you know, you pivot. You figure out what works and you pivot.
Trial and error.
And I definitely like what you said about, no, you can't hold my baby. Because I
After the NICU?
Yeah, I am absolutely the doula that's like, and midwife that's like, oh no, we're not staying up to entertain people. Like what? Like you want to come over and hold the baby and you want me to stay up and have to talk to you and entertain you and do no, you're tired, just had a baby. So I'm like, do people want to come over and they want to visit? You let them know that you're hungry and your partner is hungry too, because we both need food because we've both been up. And then like you said, we got laundry that's sitting over here. We got bottles that need to be washed. We have this that's going on, and put people to work. Like, because if you're gonna come, and they really are.
Happy to help.
If you and that's where, like you said, it comes to that planning to know who's gonna be in your core, and then also just to speak to some dads that may not, be able to have like that time off. And I often have them to kind of think about, what does that look like? Are we going to get someone there with mom because you're not able to be there?
Yeah,
and then
alone with a newborn all the time.
Exactly. And I'm like, if we're able to, kind of financially put something aside for a postpartum doula, right?
Yeah, we haven't talked about that yet. Yeah, that's
it may not be every
idea.
night or every morning, but those times in which, you kind of start to get a rhythm. Like, although babies change, but you start to get a little bit of a rhythm in the times in which you need that rest. And I did postpartum doula work. And I would literally go and be like, just give me the baby.
Yeah.
And
go take a shower.
Go take a shower. I would make sure that the kitchen, I'll do light things, not nanny things per se, but I would do light things if there were bottles there, if there were clothes that needed to be folded. Only time I'll do anything is if mom is exclusively breastfeeding. When it's time for baby to eat, take baby to mom. I'll wait, and then go get baby, burp, feed, and mom and dad is back to sleep. So some people, may have the ability to do that, but if you don't, is there a best friend? Is there an auntie? Is there a grandma? Someone who can fill in that space. Especially like those first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The first 2 weeks are hard. It is a hard transition. Breast milk, all of the things that's happening. Your uterus trying to shrink back down to size and God forbid you had some tears, like your body is just going through it. So at least those first 2 weeks to just give mom like that kind of transition that, you know, that kind of realignment period. I think that is definitely useful. But I totally agree with everything you ladies said. Planning and putting people to work and meal trains, and it's important.
And like I know a lot of people swear by having like a night nurse. I know that's very expensive. And it's someone right now that has one like certain days of the week. It's not every night. For me, I don't think I would invest in that because I was up. So I'm like, may as well do it anyway. But maybe another time around it would feel different. So just figuring out like what works for your family, what works for your family's budget and logistics, and doing as much planning as you can in advance to imagine what it might be like, and then at least you've tried to prepare, and then you pivot accordingly.
Because we always have to pivot. Stuff happens. Babies decide to come early. You know, like stuff just happens.
Babies come late.
They come
later. Babies
later.
come late.
You know.
They do.
But they're always right on time.
But they're always right on time, which is always their time. So I love it.
That's right.
I'm like, you were supposed to be born today.
All right. So we had a little conversation before our panel, and you had talked about resources, and that's one of the questions that are on here. So what are some resources or first steps that you recommend for people who want to feel more confident or want to feel more informed and supported throughout the journey, whether that's through clinical care, community networks, or holistic support? And I'm going to just open it up for all of us.
For me, I'm a big reader, so one of the things that I started reading upon was recommended by one of my good friends. Oh my gosh, I'm having a complete mind blank, but
Expecting Better?
Thank you. Emily Oster's book, Expecting Better.
I love that.
And I think that just helped reframe things in a way for me that I hadn't learned about before. And I think just also the conceptual shift I needed to have in my mind to open myself up to the concept of trying to get pregnant, because I feel like I've spent most of my life being like, no pregnant, no pregnant, no pregnant. And then now it's like, yes, even though I still feel like a teen mom. But
we're out here parenting. Somebody gave us this responsibility.
Yes, and as the teen mom that I am, I think doing research and reading as many books as possible, and then just having so many of those conversations with my doctor, who I'm so grateful for, my OB. She was an amazing person that went through, I think I was pregnant, 3 times in 2023. So just, understanding the shifts that were going to be happening in your body. And then also, again, just being very open with my friends and talking about how I was feeling, and then processing, grief, new life simultaneously, and then exercise. Pilates has gotten me through a lot.
Being able to have an extra release.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's important too to just know support groups in the area, and if you are experiencing a miscarriage, grief support groups, knowing those, and then also a lot of book resources.
Yeah, and we can send some resources out in an email of your favorite books. The thing I loved about Emily Oster's Expecting Better was when you're pregnant, I don't know about your experience, but I feel like everybody had an opinion. Everybody got an opinion, right? And even your doctor, even your midwife, even your doula, people are going to have opinions. Absolutely. That's fine, that's human. But you're navigating all of these opinions, and what I loved about the book was, to me, it was, here's the data in black and white. Here's what the data actually says, not the opinions you're hearing. Here's the actual damage this can cause. Here's the actual risk factors of A, B, and C. And now you can decide what the best option is for you, now that you know the data, right? So for me, it was this is how I go and inform myself, because Lord knows I did not have the time, energy, or anything else that was required to go and do that research myself. So that's what I loved about that book. And I'm sure there's so many other resources out there that, can do something similar for somebody to walk away feeling empowered of okay, now I have some facts, I can decide what is the best thing for me and my journey and my body and my family.
Yeah. And then
totally agree.
Yeah, and figuring out what you're also comfortable with. I know one thing for me was don't touch me and don't touch my belly. I feel like I had so many people and what I felt is just an invasion of my personal space. And in the beginning, I felt almost like bad telling people apologetically, oh, sorry.
Please don't touch me.
Yes, but by the end, I guess the bigger I got, the more assertive I got. Personal space, please. This is my dance space.
Yeah.
This is not a museum.
Right, and don't touch me. Like, I'm so just, my daughter, she's 22, y'all, and she has this thing. She absolutely hates for people to touch her. It is such a violation to her. And I never, quite understood it until I started setting my own boundaries, right? Because your children will have you to set boundaries as well. And yeah, she's just like, Mom, I just don't like it. You don't have to touch me to talk to me like it's people that like to talk and touch. And she's like, I completely lose focus because why are you touching me? And I don't think that people we're the same way about our hair. Don't touch my hair. There's just certain things, especially with Black women, especially us. There's just certain things that we also take into a spiritual context, right? Transference of energy and things like that. And I think it's very disrespectful because when I see pregnant women, even if it's my own patients, can I touch?
Right.
You're supposed to ask.
It's a very simple courtesy.
Yeah,
it's not, you're not asking for much.
Right, can I touch? It's every time. I don't care if I've seen this woman throughout her entire pregnancy.
Yeah.
We go to listen to the baby, can I touch? Yeah. Because today you may not want to be touched, so hands off, you know. And I think that that's very important for, setting those boundaries and, having those resources where people can advocate. Again, that's not advocating for yourself. Hey, look, I don't think that, for me, that's not okay, and I don't feel bad about it. But resources, when people ask me about vaccines, I'm like, oh, vaccines? Let me pull this up on the CDC because it's going to give you every ingredient. It's going to tell you what's in it. I'm like, highlight those words and go get you a good Google and, go for it. That way they can make an informed decision. What is it that the little boys get? Circumcisions. They're like, hey, doctors, this. Should I get this done? Or me and my husband was talking about it. Here's some resources with regards to it. You all sit, you talk about it, and you make an informed decision. So I really like giving people things where they can navigate it for themselves. Because a lot of times I do believe that we can use social media for good, but I think there are a lot of people who are uneducated and they kind of make stuff up.
Yeah,
and those
there's so much misinformation.
And it's so much information, and it's how do you, kind of figure out what's true and what's not. And then that means really going and getting books or verifying things in books that you may see online so that you can make sure that this is something that you absolutely can do during pregnancy, or you can consume during pregnancy, or can give your baby, or whatever the case may be. And one last thing is the birth thing, the community groups. Sometimes people have expos, birth fairs, and I think those are really good too, because you'll find vendors there that will have information as well, chiropractic care, or pediatric dentists if your baby has a tongue tie or a lip tie, to get those things repaired that people don't really talk about. So I think
pelvic floor PT,
pelvic floor PT,
get some pelvic floor PT.
Gotta get the pelvic floor PT. Gotta get it. If you got scar tissue, you gotta get scar tissue repaired, especially if you want to go for a VBAC. Yes.
Even preparing for labor, I found that so incredibly helpful. I went to PT because I have a hip issue and it flared up, of course, while I was pregnant. But then we did so much birth prep that I wasn't anticipating. I was just there because my hip was hurting and I was pregnant, right? So there's so many resources that can help. I love that your daughter knows her boundaries about her personal space. So credit to you, Mom, of helping her voice that, right? And I think when you were telling that story, I was thinking about trauma-informed care. And as clinicians, as therapists, we are taught about trauma-informed care. We take the time to implement trauma-informed care and try and live out a practice at destination therapy where we're providing that space. And I think when you're going for any type of prenatal care, it's important for you to know, like you said, what your boundaries are. And I think it's okay to ask your provider, how does your hospital or birthing center or whatever it is how do you uphold trauma-informed care?
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of us have trauma, and I think birthing is such an intimate experience, and it can become very public, very quick. Do you want a limitation of how many people are in the room? Do you want students, right? Like, depending on the setting, like, I honestly, I don't know. For some people, it might be a really big thing. For other people, they might just be so in the zone that they don't even notice the people there, you know? But having some time to at least think about it, I think is important.
And a big thing nowadays too with social media is, do you want pictures? Do you want videos? Do you want anything below the waist?
That's true. We have to think about all these
things up with the heart. People don't like posting their babies. Like, I've had people that's like, we refuse to post our babies, just their own spiritual belief. Like, they won't post the baby just so people won't speak negative, you know, just over the pictures of the baby. So it's very important to.
Yeah. I think that's a really important thing, which we haven't touched on tonight, but thinking about you and your family, like what works for you once the baby's here, right? I think it's perfectly okay to send a text message out. You can create a cute document on Canva if you want to, of the do's and the don'ts and the yes pleases and the no thank yous, right? Whether that's having a limit of people, whether you want certain, if you want visitors to have had certain vaccinations or shots, whether you want people to wear a mask, whether you want people to hold your baby or not. What else? I feel like social media, right? Whether you want people to take pictures or to take and post or not of your baby, right? Like, these are really important things. And it's really easy when you are that exhausted and that overwhelmed to not speak up in the moment or even notice what's happening. So as somebody who I know right after the fact, I wouldn't have had the capacity to uphold a boundary right away if I didn't quite clock what was happening. I made sure to like communicate, hey, I would prefer if you didn't post any pictures of my baby on social media. If you are coming over, we sent another text out after our baby was in the NICU. If you are coming over, you have to wear a mask because she's so vulnerable right now, right? And so again, the plan can change, as did, but taking the time to sit with your family and think about what's the best thing for you, it's worth the effort for sure.
And I think remembering that a baby is a person, not like this little doll.
Right, to be passed around from arm to arm, person to person.
Just
I think
this
a lot of
cute
I think a lot of people forget that. And I remember because I worked through COVID, that even like babies that were born and people who had young babies, I just didn't even go over the house because I still worked in person. But I'm like just thinking about how those things affect a child who's so vulnerable. I don't think a lot of people think about that.
Protecting a baby,
Pass around the child.
Yeah, baby's so cute and bring, you know, all this joy and emotions and things like that. But like you say, they don't think about, hey, you just, you know, maybe partying last night in a club full of people, and now you're coming over here and you're seeing this baby, and you may have washed your hands and all the things, but maybe you should have sat down for 72 hours to make sure, you know, people don't think that far into it. They just think, oh, I feel good, I'm gonna just wash my hands and do this, and it's like, like you say, protecting this baby. If you love this baby, you'll protect this baby and just kind of fall back and let the parents decide, hey, look, we're gonna give it 2 weeks before we start having visitors. I think it's definitely okay with whatever the parents decide they want to do. And even as someone who's in the space where I'm taking pictures, because I've always liked to take pictures for my moms because they want to see, right? Especially in the hospital, in the home birth and birth center setting, nobody cares if you take pictures, right? Because you're not there hoping that you don't do something wrong that's going to be on camera, right? But in that setting, they've always been like, oh, above the waist, above the waist. And so for me, I've just always been able to kind of wiggle my way, you know, below the waist and coach your mom on. And I'm like, I got you. And I send it, you know, directly to them. And I'm like, hey, look, I got this. This is what I have. I'm not going to post it. If it's okay that I share it, I'll cover up anything that needs to be covered up. But this is for you. Like, I let them know I did it. Yes, it's on my phone, but this is for you. I respect your privacy, you know. But I know that they wanted that intimate moment and couldn't have it because you can't have a photographer in the room, you know. So I'm trying to do both things at the same time while still having them to trust me in that moment that these are for you and they're coming out of my phone going directly to you or your partner, you know. So,
That's
for sure.
Huge. That's beautiful. Wow.
I love birth work. It's so fun. It's so, uplifting and making sure mamas are happy and safe. When you have those moments where you can be like, okay, mama and baby are safe, it's really, really good. It's a really good feeling, to have, because you know that it's not always, the case, that there can be a complication, that there's probably someone two, doors down that maybe didn't make it or didn't have the same outcome, but when you do have those moments where you can breathe and that mom is safe, and not just safe after having a baby, but I'm talking about postpartumly too, the next 24 to 72 hours, even up to a week, like that is important, making sure you're not bleeding internally and all types of things that are overlooked, or postpartum preeclampsia. I see so many celebrities talking about having that, and people don't realize it's a real thing, and still making sure that your blood pressure is good even after having the baby. Your body is still going through changes. So I just love what you're doing, and how you ladies are advocating, and having to go through your experience, which absolutely sucks, because in my mind I'm like, absolutely not, like she's 30 weeks and like what are you talking about? That's like placenta abruption, or all types of things that I was just sitting here thinking that would have caused me to say, hey, no, there needs to be an ultrasound to be done. So to hear that so many women have to face that and endure that kind of treatment and just be turned around, and you just never know, like even people don't understand, like vomiting like that throughout your entire pregnancy. It's dangerous.
And let me tell you, my dental bill.
Oh, because yes,
I had to have so many fillings, root canals, like so much dental work afterwards, because of 9 months of all that acidity in my mouth. Yeah. So these are the things that people don't realize. It's not just like, oh, I felt a little bit nauseous. Like, no, I was unwell, right? Yeah,
like you have to think about your esophagus, all the things that is affecting, and your
stomach line.
Your stomach line, and like it's.
And I was already a GI girl. There was already problems. Kedian knows. Okay, she works with me. Yeah, I am a self-proclaimed GI girly. I was already in the gang, so it didn't shock me that I was having issues, but I was not prepared for it. Yeah. Something I will say though, I think growing up, when I heard people talk about labor, specifically labor, it was always negative.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's so painful. It's the worst pain of your life.
I was in labor for 25 hours.
Yes, 25 days.
25 days, 6 months.
Right. And I am so blessed to say I had such an incredible birthing experience.
I love it.
I felt so empowered. I felt amazing. And I ended up, my OB actually didn't end up delivering me, which is a whole other saga, which we ain't got time for right now. She wanted to. It just didn't happen. And first of all, for me, in that experience, I'm not saying every experience, it was not as painful as I thought it was going to be.
Did you go unmedicated?
I had an epidural. Okay. It hit when I was 10 centimeters and 100% effaced. So I can say quite loudly that I know what it feels like, right? Because the epidural didn't work at first.
Oh, wow. Oh. So you didn't get numb until it was time to push? Until
they said, okay, it's time to push. And I said, no, it's not. I can still feel everything. I don't want to feel the ring of fire. I don't want to feel the ring of fire. I was so afraid of the ring of fire because people make you so afraid.
What is the ring of fire?
The ring of fire is the stretch.
It's the stretch when the baby is crowning.
The stretch of the baby crowning.
That head is right there.
And I was terrified of that. And now I look back, I'm like, yeah, my doula was right. I probably could have just gone without, because I got to that point. We didn't know it wasn't going to work. But honestly, like the power of breath work, when everything is running smoothly, right? I know a lot of women who have had very different experiences. But the power of breath work, the power of visualization. Yes. And for me, like every contraction, I was just thinking, this is going to bring me closer to meeting her.
Yes.
Oh, get it, girl.
Her face is like, girl.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had a different ministry.
Right. And a lot of people do. I get that.
Yes.
I just want to say, like, there are people on this planet that you can talk to if you are terrified of birth and of labor that have actually had positive birthing experiences. Yeah. And I think that feels so rare. And then I've spoke to other people and they're like, oh yeah, my first was, or yeah, that happened to me too. And I'm like, why is nobody talking about this? I feel like my whole algorithm when I was pregnant was like, my terrible induction story and this terrible birthing experience. And like, it's important to protect your energy. It's important to protect what you're consuming, like protect yourself from what you're consuming. If you're following all of these accounts, unfollow. You don't need to see that negativity. You can inform yourself without traumatizing yourself. And there are people, I promise you, that have had positive birth experiences. Seek that out. And it's okay to speak that over yourself, right? And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Of course, nobody who had a bad or a traumatic birth experience planned that. But it's okay to believe that it will be a positive thing.
Oh, yes.
I mean, my birth experience was very positive. I went into it saying, no pain, no pain, no pain. My ancestors were not giving birth in the field, dropping babies in between picking bales of cotton for me not to have an epidural. And I think everyone at the hospital, knowing what I went through with appendix gate, you know, I got my epidural right at 3 centimeters and I didn't feel a thing. You know, it got to the point when I needed to push. One person had one leg, my husband had the other. And the power of Pilates, I don't know, just went through.
The power of Pilates.
But I couldn't feel a thing, and I loved that for me. I had a wonderful birthing experience powered by Law and Order SVU on the TV, and Marsha and Ice-T pushed me through.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think, you know, we get to choose, right? And there's no award for not receiving pain relief. Nobody comes and gives you a gold star.
I'll make you a t-shirt on my cricket.
You just got to figure out what works for you. So
Yeah, because the thing is, I mean, if you was going, like, let's just say if you didn't get an epidural and you're someone who may not deal with pain well, right? It sounds like, Monique, you the way that you dealt with pain was a little different and you had that perhaps training. If you don't deal with pain well, it's just everything is gonna crash anyways. Because if you're unfocused, you can't breathe, you can't catch your breath, you're clenching your body.
Yeah.
It's
gonna make it worse.
It's gonna make it worse. The baby is not gonna be able to descend the correct way. Your muscles are tight, so you can't, dilate properly. So I feel like whatever the woman needs to get the baby here safe, get the baby here safe. Now your body knows how to do it and do everything. So who's to say the next time you speed right through it, it may not need an epidural.
She's like, maybe
She's
not.
like, don't you just know what it looks like already?
She internally said, next question.
So, it's just, I think there's no wrong answer when giving birth. I feel like trusting your body and whatever works for you and however and whatever you need to do to get your baby here safe. I've had women crying on the gurney. I don't want a C-section. I want to do it. I want to be a mama. I'm like, baby, you a mama anyway. First of all, you probably more of a mama because they about to slice you about 3 ways to Sunday.
Doesn't matter how that baby gets
Yes,
there.
and you still got to heal. You still got to do the things. It is still birth. You had to give, that baby had to come out. So I don't criticize people.
I also would like to talk about this idea of natural.
Yes.
I don't like this language of, so many people, also, why are people asking me, are you going to have a natural delivery? I would say every delivery is natural.
Yes, it's either medicated or unmedicated.
Exactly, right? And I think this idea that it's like unnatural, it really irks me. So can we just please,
change
people
the
at the back,
language.
can we please change the
language,
right?
Yeah.
And also, maybe it's none of your business, you're saying, right?
Well,
if you're having an intimate conversation and that person wants to disclose their birth plan and what they imagine it would be like, great, maybe
Absolutely.
that's appropriate. But like the random lady in the grocery store,
That makes me dead.
maybe.
It's like, don't touch my belly and please don't touch my hand.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, like this badge of armor.
Yeah,
However the baby gets here, as long as the baby's safe, you're safe,
exactly.
we're all good.
The idea is escaping the trauma, of everything and survival. But however you need to get your baby here, however your baby is trying to get here, earlier, later, whatever. As long as your baby is safe, you're safe, and you're holding a baby in your arms, that's my only thing. Because the other side of that is not. So I'm like, get your baby here.
Doing what works for you.
Doing what works for you and your body.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, I've thrown some questions in as we've been chatting. I did want to check with our production in the back. Are there any extra Q&A questions that are not on the document? Okay, I tried to throw as much in as I could. So I think we can close things out.
This was a great talk.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. You enjoyed yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I enjoyed myself.
I'm like in my mind, I'm gonna text her to invite me back.
We might need a part 2 because we had so many incredible questions. So thank you to all of you who registered and helped us create this really important dialogue. Thank you so much for joining us and spending the evening of your precious time with us tonight. A huge thank you to our incredible panelists, Rayna Reid Rayford, Joycelyn, Mama Soul, and Kedian Dixon, for sharing your insights and your honesty and your passion for helping people feel seen and feel supported and feel cared for in what is such like a vulnerable time of any family's lives. And of course, thank you to everyone who tuned in. We appreciate you. These conversations are so meaningful. And please remember, you don't have to go through any trying to conceive, pregnancy, or postpartum challenges alone. There are so many resources out there, so please talk to someone. If you don't have someone, email me. I will be there and we will give you resources. We will send resources out.
And we'll have an app soon.
We have an
The app is coming, okay? And for those who'd like to continue exploring these topics, please visit us at thedestinationtherapy.com if you're interested in therapy. Book a free consultation. Couples, Kedian is your girl, okay? But we have an incredible team. We're trauma-informed and we really care about what we're doing and extending things beyond the therapy room, which is why I started this. So thank you for spending your evening with us, and we'll see you next time on our Tea Talks with Monique Speaks.